is so concerning about all this?
Well, today we had a hearing before Judge Olmedo just to follow up on the accounting for the additional firearms. There were 10 firearms that were reported as still missing according to the probation report, the prior probation report, in the matter of Danny Masterson. And so we needed to follow up and determine from that last court date whether the defense was going to be able to locate and determine whether these firearms had been relinquished, turned over, destroyed, and then provide some documentation in support of that. So this morning we did get a motion that had been filed by the defense counsel, and my understanding is that the information had also been turned over to the deputy probation officer who's assigned to follow up on the relinquishment of firearms. My understanding is that at this point, all of the 10 that had initially been deemed to be missing have been accounted for. The judge did review the motion that was filed by the defense, and at least tentatively, she appears to be satisfied that everything's been relinquished. There were reportedly 8 of the initial firearms that were missing that had been turned over to a federally licensed firearms dealer in Oregon, and that's being held in a gun storage. And then one of the 10, had been turned over, I believe, over in Ventura County to the Sheriff's Department, and then that gun was destroyed by another federal firearms agency. And then the last of the 10 had been destroyed. We have verification of its destruction back in 2015.
Where were these guns? They were missing guns for 3 years, it sounds like, right? Is that right? And where were they?
So the whereabouts, I don't know. I don't have the information on that. Obviously, we're pleased that we've located them at this point in time. And so the whereabouts over these last years, I don't have that information. I determine that.
How quickly were they relinquished to federal firearms dealer? You said in Oregon, right? Did that just happen in the last few weeks, or?
That was, I don't recall the exact date because I just got that information this morning, but I believe it was recently. Yeah, recently.
Okay. So they were like with a friend of Masterson's in Oregon, or what were the circumstances?
That part, I don't have the information on that just yet.
Was it just not included in the defense motion that they filed, or did you not?
I think he's read it.
Okay.
Yeah, I just literally got that motion this morning, and I have not had a chance to review all of it. I did look at the documentation supporting the fact that these different locations did receive the firearms, but and I do believe it was just recently. But again, where they've been up until now, I couldn't tell you.
Okay.
Does anybody verify that when 3 years ago they put a filing and saying that he'd relinquished all of his firearms? Is the court just taking their word for it, or does somebody go and verify that back at the time?
Well, again, so at the arraignment, there was an order for Mr. Masterson to turn over, relinquish any guns that he may own or possess at that time, and he had a certain number of days to do that. Then there was a motion that was filed under seal by defense, and they had indicated that he had complied with that. We did get a kind of a letter from another federal firearms licensed dealer that he had taken over possession of all of the firearms that he was known to have possessed at that time. As far as any follow-up beyond that, to my knowledge, I don't believe there was anything additional in terms of probation getting involved or anything beyond that.
Is that concerning that nobody seems to be verifying where guns are in a case that involves a violent rape that actually included a gun at one point?
Well, I think in all cases, in all serious violent cases that you have, especially cases of this nature, whether it's sexual assaults, domestic violence, there's always a concern if the suspect or the defendant is known to have perhaps used a firearm at the time of the course of the assault, or it's least alleged, and or possessed, that he may still have access to those things. That's always concerning.
What if the Jane Doe one? What have they told you about their fears about knowing that there isn't a lot of oversight, and that for 3 years these guns have been floating around?
Understanding.
Like, have they expressed some fear about?
They have. I mean, they've expressed concerns. You know, over between this last court date and the date today, the hearing today. Yes, they have expressed concerns, and rightfully so. I mean, if there are guns out there that are missing and unaccounted for, you know, they want to know that those things get relinquished or destroyed, and that they're not just still out there.
I forgot what my last question was.
Was there a deadline for the probation office to get their report in and confirm all this, or is that just in the next couple of weeks that happens?
There's an initial 14-day deadline when that firearms relinquishment investigation report first gets turned over to the defendant and his counsel. For purposes of this next court date, I don't know that there's a deadline at this point. The judge had indicated that she feels satisfied that the obligation has been met, and has issued a forthwith order for the defendant then to be transported to state prison in the custody of the Department of Corrections.
So we should probably see that before the end of the month. I mean, definitely within the next couple of weeks. You think?
I would think so. I mean, normally the Department of Corrections has certain things that they have to do in preparing for that, but they may have already been doing that.
Yeah.
Pending this hearing today. So.
How do you feel overall? And I'm sorry, I'll stop asking questions. Like, this part of, at least, is done, basically, right? Assuming that they verify these guns have been relinquished or destroyed. This has been a super long process for you and a difficult ordeal. How does it feel to be done with at least this?
It's a feeling of relief. It has been a long journey. There was a lot in the works, just getting the case initially filed, and then obviously trial 1, trial 2. It was a long process, but and for the victims too, for the Jane Does. I mean, my God, they've endured a lot for all over these years, and I have to give them so much credit for the strength that they had. It's not easy. You're getting up and testifying on direct and cross-examination for a preliminary hearing, then trial 1, and then asking them to come back for a trial 2. They were, all I can say is they're very brave and courageous, and it took a lot to do it. And I couldn't be more thrilled with the outcome. After all of these years, all of this time, and it was a long time coming, but the outcome was the right outcome, and justice had been served.
And you had to have been, I mean, we talked about this at the time, but you had to have been satisfied with Judge Olmedo's sentence and the comments that she gave him too. It's kind of hit or miss sometimes whether judges actually say something to the defendants, and she really took a chance to say something to him in there.
Yes, I think her comments absolutely appropriate. I think her decision with regard to the sentencing was absolutely the right decision. No question.
Great.
In my mind.
Well, so does this end it? I mean, we kind of talked about this, but this is the final step. I mean, when he gets transported to prison, that's kind of closes the book for you. Of course, there's an appeal, but you've probably got active appeals on a lot of cases that you're doing, and you don't worry about it too much.
Correct. Yes. This is the kind of the last step.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Great. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Of course. Thank you.
Thank you.